No, we are live on YouTube. We are going live. We'll do it live.
Doing it live.
That's such an epic video that'll never get old.
No.
That is very true. All right, recording volume. Let's turn that down a tad. I don't need to be a 95. Wide receiveth. Wide receiver. Unique New York. The Silver Surfer was denied a bank loan. Just doing my exercises, guys.
Love it. All right, I got Audacity up.
La Visca Chenault.
I don't know how big camera's going to be because it doesn't seem to be working.
Let me know when you want a space dog, Tyler.
All right. I just need to
3,
share.
2, 1, go! New Patriots. Hey, you were in a Florida State. I love it. Just noticed
Yeah.
that. I wore my Florida State jacket today when I was out grocery shopping with no mask on, like a rebel.
Whoa, look at you go. Have you heard of Shipped or Instacart?
I'm very much an old school. Like, I enjoy physical media. I enjoy going to the grocery store.
Well, I'm not saying for yourself. I'm just saying, have you heard of?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
those?
I've heard of
Yeah.
them.
So I started doing Shipped about 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
right kind of when this started, and it's just been crazy money.
All right. You guys ready to dock?
Oh yeah.
No, we are live, Doug. I don't know if we have anybody.
That's fine. This is
All right.
Kenneth from Connecticut.
Oh, almost didn't realize I didn't have it on my mic. That would have been bad.
Who the hell is Mike?
All right, ready? You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I am.
Three.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh yeah, we're good.
All right.
Golden.
All right, please hold. I have to bring up the le sheet. Le sheet for you. All right, so we've got a lot of.
Yeah, I mean,
Oops.
I don't know if all that news needs to be read, to be honest. I just kind of, a lot of it was from, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
So some of it's probably not even.
I'll bring up some of it.
Yeah, just
Here's what I'll
whatever you
do is
feel.
I'll touch on a handful of things and then we'll just talk about it as a group, like instead of
Yeah.
individually.
Exactly.
I think
'Cause
that
there's-
works
there's
because
a
a lot of
million
it's
wide
a
receivers to
lot
get
of it's
to.
like, yeah, and a lot of it's like coach peak stuff, which to me is like you can only glean so much from it.
That's where we're at right now. Like I was looking for
I
like
know.
actual news, and I was like, oh well, Trey Burton got released. There's some actual news, and I was like, oh,
Yay.
that's gonna be put at the bottom because no one cared anyway.
Yeah, no, not really. So okay, let me.
I traded for Jimmy Graham this yesterday.
Oh God,
What a stud!
for what?
Well, I gave up Hunter Henry and I got
Jimmy Graham.
Justin Jefferson and Jimmy Graham.
Oh, okay. Wow,
Oh,
I actually really like that. Was it 2 tight end or what?
Just 0.5 premium.
No, I really like that.
It is not terrible. Tyler, I'm
suit is
looking forward.
black,
I know you're not in bar tab anymore, but I am looking forward to bar tab. I know Robbie is. So
Oh
it's
my
gonna be-
gosh, I
that's gonna be
forgot he
fun.
wasn't in until you just said that. Damn it.
Yeah.
That is sad.
I did win though.
Yeah.
Technically.
God. Parrot just
He
comes
John-
in and just
He John
Just
Gruden
rolls.
my team.
he did. Your team was really good, honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jameis.
Gosh.
Ugh, fucking Jameis.
Remember when you were trying to sell him for what was it, like 1,500, and we were like, no way. And you were like, no, they're 1,000, whatever it was. And we were like, no way. Worth it. 30 and 30, man. Where can you get that? Nowhere.
So Doug, I went from having $900 in Pigs 3 to $400 to $1,700.
I saw that.
Yeah, I did work in pigs, and I love my team
I
now.
think I want to say I have like $600 or $700. I didn't do anything in the Devi auction. I'm not interested in Devi. Like all the players I've ever won in Devi haven't hit. Like, and I've been like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna save it for the rookies that I know their landing spots, and I'm
Yeah,
not gonna worry about it.
I put 40 into Joe Nada, and that's it. Like that was the only money I put in. And I figured if Nada hits, he's gonna hit hard.
And
And if
hopefully he
misses,
doesn't
it's
end up
40
being
bucks.
Isaac
Nada.
Nada. Yeah.
Too easy. Isaac Nada. Remember that tight end from last year's class?
Yes. No, it was like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That was last year.
Yeah,
He was on my taxi squad in Bar Tab. I just cut him.
Well, I wasn't there for that moment.
That's very true. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun auction.
I didn't realize you were in pigs 2 and 3. Doug.
I'm in
no,
3.
I'm just in 2.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I had the opportunity to be in 1, 2, or 3, and I could have done a dispersal in 1 and 2.
And you fucked up your startup.
I did. I messed up my startup. Okay, here's how I roll. I suck at startups, but like 2 years in, I start getting dominant. Like ask Doug in UDPL, my team sucked, and then like year 2 and 3, like that's when I start.
I need to see your guys'
traction, if you will.
UDPL roster because you guys bring that up a lot. I need to see what we're working with on
We
that.
started a second one. We're in the
Did
middle
ya?
of our startup.
I saw that. I was kind of like, oh, bastards.
Yes, that's
I asked Tim if he wanted to be in, but he's all sick and quarantined and in a hole.
He's just massaging his calves.
Yes.
I can respect that.
A
So Tyler,
lot
who's
of
gonna be
oil.
on this? Who's gonna be on this Zoom thing on Thursday?
A lot of people.
Nice.
Like
I'll join
we
in.
might.
I already told Jacqueline like Thursday and Friday. Don't expect me to do anything. I go once the
had
draft
to.
starts at 8:00 on Friday and 7:00 or 8:00 Thursday, 7:00 Friday. I have zero responsibilities. And she's like, no. She's like, I understand you were supposed to be in New York. And I'm like, yep. And I'm ordering takeout and I'm going to be on Zoom with friends and I'm not doing shit.
look at you.
And she's like,
Yeah.
okay.
For me, I'm thinking we'll probably have over 50 in a Zoom chat.
That could be wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be very wild. You have to start them off all on mute.
Yeah.
All right,
Raise your hand.
you guys
if
ready to
wanna
roll?
talk. What are we rolling again?
Doing it live, I believe.
Doing it.
Yes.
We're doing it live. Yes, I'm ready to roll. Give me like 3 seconds and I'll roll this in. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It's me, Doug Eddy, here with my co-host Tyler Gunther, and not Tim Keller. He's in a deep quarantine, folks. Like we don't know if we're ever going to see Tim again. But we called him out of the bullpen. I'm slapping my right wrist. Here comes Robbie out of the pen. We're doing it live. Here he comes, filling in for Tim this week. Robbie Jeffries. Robbie, how the hell are you, my friend?
Dude, I'm great. Have we checked on Tim? Have we sent out a search party to confirm he's still good?
He's fine.
He's
good?
in an empty house with just a mattress and a small refrigerator and beer. So
Tyler did not sound concerned, so I'm not concerned. I feel better now.
He's got lots of candy.
Oh, he's golden then. That's
He's
why he hasn't
He's putting on
emerged.
the COVID-19.
I heard it's like
Ooh.
1900.
1,900 pounds.
I'm great. How are you guys?
I got no complaints. It's been a productive. I'm currently painting one of the only 2 rooms in this house that has not been painted since we moved in. It's the back half of the man cave, and it's been yellow for a while. I painted the regular part
With
of
the
man cave,
secondary Batman color. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
calling it the man cave, I mean the secondary.
but it's like
Batman
it's
color.
not a bright. It's an awful yellow. So I primed everything between. I did the edging yesterday, and then the bulk of it today. So then next weekend I am going to get it painted, and then it can be the man cave. Can be done. I can just put a bow on it, and then the only other room that needs to be painted is the master bathroom. Whenever we decide to redo that. So thank you, economy, for putting that on hold. So but no, other than that, we're good.
I was a first-time yoga participant as of yesterday.
I love yoga.
Yeah, I'd never done it before. Girlfriend ran me through all of the poses. I don't even know what we
Get
did.
that
but
downward dog, that
Yeah.
runner stretch.
all of them.
What kind of yoga do you do? Because I had some random guy in an alley tell me to do random poses, and I don't know if it was yoga. I'm not sure.
It's probably like mouth yoga.
There's no mouth.
All right.
It was just like, it was like a camera and then me going like this.
Ooh, there was
All
a
right,
camera
second
involved.
pose. Yeah.
Clothing removed. Yikes.
We called it photo yoga.
Foga. P-H-O-G-A. Foga.
Not to be confused with Poe or Foe.
Oh, definitely
right.
faux.
Tyler, what's good in Minnesota? How's the weather treating you up there?
Okay. This week was a whirlwind with the weather.
Same here.
One day, 65, we're outside playing. All of a sudden, boom, we get 6 to 10 inches of snow. There it is. More snow. And then it decides, okay, it's going to warm up a little bit. Oh, now it's going to be 35 degrees with off and on flurries. Like somebody was flipping on a light switch off and on for snow. Like one moment you look outside, the snow is going sideways. The next moment you look outside, it is no clouds in the sky, sunny and like 45.
This is Mother Nature doesn't know what to do with all this, all these people not traveling and the air getting clean. It's like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. 2020 has been a heck of a year.
Else. We have not seen clearly in 2020. I can tell you that.
No.
And
all the jokes before 2020 happened with the, I'm going to, my eyesight's going to be better and all this, like I'm going to see everything better. No, we have no idea what's going to happen.
I can't even see other people. That's except for you, except for people on Zoom. It snowed here. We got 4 inches yesterday, which is the first time we've had snow in quite a while. And it was 60 today and all the snow is gone.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much how it's been here.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. So this week we're going to roll into some news. We don't have a ton of pressing news. We covered the Brandon Cooks trade last week, and we're going to talk wide receivers. Probably the star of this draft is going to be the wide receiver class. So we are going to break it down this week. So just a few news and notes. Like I said, not a ton. A lot of it is just, there's not a lot going on in the NFL right now. I mean, Trey Burton was released. Yay. Like Super Bowl hero Trey Burton, I guess, if you want to even call him that. But pretty much a failure in Chicago. I know he did it the first year he was there. I think he did end up as a tight end 1, which again isn't very difficult to do. Battled injuries last year. The Bears have 17 tight ends on their roster currently. And he was making a pretty good amount of money. So the Bears cut him. So he is a street free agent. I'm sure he'll land somewhere. I know he had off-season surgery, I believe, on his hip and then another part of his body. So he's recovering from that. But word is he'll be ready for the season. So Trey Burton, potentially on the move. I'd be interested if he landed on a team like, a tight end needy team like, the Patriots. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. We've got some Hard Knock news. So when Hard Knocks comes back, hopefully this year, if they have training camps, it's going to be both Los Angeles teams, both the Rams and the Chargers. So that's pretty exciting. As far as other news, we've had just a lot of coach speak. So I do want to cover some of it, before we get into these receivers. Because I think, you can believe what you want to believe, but just because some things are being said, it can kind of change a trade market or see some opportunities come up for other players. So I do think it bears just mentioning here a little bit. So I'm going to run through some of these and then we're going to circle back at the end. So Robbie and Tyler, take notes and I'll go through these and then we'll talk about them at the end. How does that sound?
Groovy.
Gold.
Awesome. Thank you for agreeing with me. So Rams general manager Les Snead said the offense wants to utilize more than one workhorse moving the ball with different skill sets. So obviously the biggest running backs in that backfield right now, Darrell Henderson, rookie out of Memphis last year that had limited touches, Malcolm Brown, who was for all instances their starter when Todd Gurley was hurt here and there. And they still have John Kelly on the roster. We all still want him to be a thing because we like John Kelly. So there was that. Sticking with the Rams, we've got some information about Gerald Everett. Says Sean McVay, the coach, says he's going to do a better job of utilizing Gerald Everett's skill set. Everett was a second-round pick in that awesome 2017 tight end class. He will be a free agent after this year. We had Tyler Higbee finish strong this past year. In his last 5 starts, 43 receptions, 522 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and looked like an absolute stud. So moving on to the running back position, ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Jaguars have had trade discussions with other teams regarding Leonard Fournette. He had 365 touches last season with the Jags, a lot of work out of the backfield, but he's been kind of chirping on Twitter a little bit, no disrespect to Gardner Minshew, like, hey, Cam Newton, and things like that. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about, is he going to be on the move with his $4 million, they've got his 5th-year option coming up. Could be an interesting offseason here for the Jags with the draft. They have a ton of picks. So Fournette could be on the move. Speaking of running backs that are on the younger side, Bucs GM Jason Light claimed the team has more faith than ever in Ronald Jones. We've only heard that a few times. I know Tyler just went from 6 to midnight. So Bruce Arians said that the team will look to add a pass catching back. Do we think Rojo is a huge buy, and what would you pay to acquire him is what I want to know from you boys when we circle back here. More running back news, because, running backs are the lifeblood of fantasy. The Athletic's Zach Kiefer expects Nyheim Hines to get plenty more action on offense this season. Filling in possibly that Austin Eckler role, getting those checkdowns from Phillip Rivers. We all know he was the fastest running back in his draft class back in 2018. Do we think he's a piece to acquire in 2020 with Rivers at quarterback? And then last but not least, to wrap up our running back news, got a lot of it. The Athletic's Daniel Popper, no relation to John Popper of Blues Traveler fame, reports the Chargers are still very high on third-year running back Justin Jackson, who a lot of people really like in Dynasty. If the Chargers don't add a running back, is Jackson going to be a guy that you try to buy before the draft, or are you going to pay a little bit of a higher price after the draft is what I want to know. So, boys, let's start with you, Tyler. Circle back on any of these points and give me some talking points on any of them.
I like the Nyheim Hines news. I think he is actually a very cheap running back to acquire right now. I think you could probably get him for a third. And yeah, that Austin Eckler role for the Colts is going. I don't think it's going to be the exact role because it's a different team,
different type of player.
Yeah, and I do think Marlon Mack will get more catches out of the backfield. I do think this is good for Marlon Mack, but I do think they want Nyheim Hines to get more involved in the passing game. You look at their weapons right now, pre-draft, and they're not the greatest. I mean, Paris Campbell hasn't done what we thought Paris Campbell, he was going to do.
Big buy.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines for me is a buy as well. And let's see. Well, Justin Jackson, I loved him. He was my 19th ranked overall player that year. I loved him. This was pre-draft. So I think Justin Jackson is a good running back. Yeah, I mean, you look at his college production and it was great. He can be
he's had some good fantasy games.
Yeah, and he can carry the ball. He can touch the ball, and he did in college. He can carry it 20 plus times a game. I don't think they need him to do that. I think you could probably get him 15 to 20 touches a game, and he'd be just fine. He's not going to wow you, but I think he could get you the 16 for 80 and a touchdown and probably like 2 to 3 catches because Eckler is going to take a huge chunk of that piece of pie that Melvin Gordon's
and I do anticipate the Chargers to draft a running back too, or sign a veteran. I mean, there's a lot of veterans out there still.
Yeah, and Leonard Fournette, I mean, you've heard it, and it kind of got swept under the rug. You heard him possibly getting moved, and now you hear it again. So I feel like that there's more talk towards a draft. There's a chance he could get moved in the
Where
draft.
Would you like him to go?
Oh man, I mean
Tampa.
Kansas City would be one. But if Tampa's looking for a pass catching back, I think they would look into the draft and maybe have somebody stay home and stay in Florida.
Cameron.
Yes.
Nice. Robbie, any thoughts on any of those bullet points?
Yeah, Tyler, thanks for leaving Rojo here for me. I think that Tampa just has so many spots that they need to fill in the draft that if they're going to take somebody, I think it's gonna be a pass catching back, but I think it's gonna be later in the draft. Just they need help on both sides of that line. So I actually think Rojo is just extremely undervalued, as I've said, year in and year out, and he's been getting there. So hopefully this is his big breakout year. And then kind of going back.
What would you pay, Robbie? Would you give up like a mid 2020 second for Rojo?
Yes. Like,
okay. I think that's a sweet spot.
Yeah, I think obviously this draft class is just super deep, but I think once you see landing spots, there's only so many spots for all these players. And obviously, like, we like their talent a lot, but when one of these wide receivers lands in a spot with two others, established guys, it's going to take a while for that person to develop. So I'm going to take a running back that's on a starting running back that's on a Bruce Arians offense. So that it would be my thoughts with Rojo there. But I think also with the Rams, Gerald Everett was that kind of sleeper that everyone was hoping would break out last year. And
I love Gerald Everett.
And he had some flashes here and there, and then he goes down and Higbee just does exactly what we thought Everett was going to do for a couple of years. So I'm not out on Everett. I've got him in a couple leagues, and I'd love to see him get back in there. And especially with Cooks getting moved out, I think they'll do more 2 tight end sets. So I'm really excited to see if some of these Everett shares pan out.
Yeah, I bought Everett. I've tried to buy almost every tight end in that 2017 class at some point or another in most of the leagues I'm in. I own a good amount of Gerald Everett, Jonnu Smith, George Kittle, and the like. So yeah, Everett's was one of my favorite tight ends in that class. So I am hoping the same because I have him in a bunch of spots. So cool. So we are going to move on and we are going to talk about some wide receivers. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor this week. It's Dynasty Owner. And if you think you're smarter than an NFL GM, and if you think you're the best at fantasy football, you now have the chance to prove it. So Dynasty Owner is the only patented fantasy sports game using actual NFL salaries and contracts. You manage your team on all levels, from owner to general manager to coach. You can set those pretzel prices and that soda pop prices. I'm just kidding. This isn't like a weird Madden franchise. But Dynasty Owner is for the smart and elite fantasy football player. There's no offseason whatsoever. The rookie draft matters, which I know the 3 of us are going to be in rookie drafts starting on Monday. Free agency matters. Free agency matters. Every contract matters. So come to a startup in 2020 using actual NFL contracts and salaries. Then improve your team each year with a 3-round rookie draft and by trading players and draft picks. You can win weekly prizes, seasonal prizes, and you can compete in the chase for the ring. The mobile app is in development and will be ready to download on iOS and Android in time for the rookie drafts that start in May, or if you're a sycophant like us, on Monday in April. Mock drafts are now open on desktop and mobile browsers. To learn more about the site and mock draft for free, go to www.dynastyowner.com. So we are going to break down the 2020 wide receiver class in order of the DHH composite Superflex rankings. So the 101 at the wide receiver position is Jerry Jeudy, according to DHH composites ratings. So I'm going to go to Robbie first on this one. So I have a different 101. I'm not part of the ranking, so maybe I could have skewed this if I was. I used to be, but nobody got time for that. It's a lot of work. So when people are like,
you probably have time for that now.
Dude, I'm watching 2 kids all day long while my wife works.
Oh, come on.
I really don't. I am a teacher. Like, I got stuff going on. So Jerry Jeudy's the 101. Robbie, agree, disagree? Talk to me about Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. So Jerry Jeudy is not my 101, but I mean, he is going to be right up there with our next person, who I think is probably the same person you're thinking of. But I mean, there's not a lot to hate about Jerry Jeudy. I mean, we've seen a lot of his tape, and his route running, his footwork, and his yak ability is just really, really good. So what's really interesting about Jerry Jeudy is you kind of think of, when you hear route runner, that, okay, he's going to be a guy that, gets a lot of yards, gets a lot of catches, but might not get a lot of touchdowns. But in his past 2 seasons, he amassed 24 or 25 touchdowns. And I just think that just shows kind of his upside and being able to find that end zone. So I think he's got a really, really high floor, maybe one of the highest floors of all the wide receivers in this class. So if you're to have him as your top wide receiver, I don't think you're too far off there.
Yeah, and Matt Harmon, the creator of Reception Perception and friend of the show, actually tweeted out earlier today about Jerry Jeudy, his route running capabilities and just overall technique. He was a big fan of it. So Harmon, most receivers that Harmon's in the ballpark for, like, usually that perks my ears up a little bit because he knows what he's doing. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy, not my 101, but I can see people making an argument for it. I think he'll be off the board in the NFL draft within the first 15 to 20 picks pretty easily. A wide receiver needy team like a New York Jets or a Las Vegas Raiders could definitely be in the market for Jerry Jeudy's services. And I would like both of those spots, as he would be a potential target hog coming right out of the draft in his rookie season. So Tyler, we have the DHH. We have CeeDee Lamb as the second wide receiver off the board. He's my 101 when it comes to this wide receiver class. I just think he can do it all. I like his explosiveness. I know he didn't test like super fast at the combine. That doesn't mean anything to me. Like his game tape and everything, just, he's a touchdown creator, and I love CeeDee Lamb. So Tyler, give me a little bit about Compact Disc Lamb is what I'm going to call him.
He's not my 101. Jeudy is still my 101. And it's all because route running. You look at the way the NFL is going, it's route running, route running. CeeDee Lamb is a good route runner, but he's not Jerry Jeudy at the moment. And honest to God, all this can get changed up with the draft.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I love the Jets as a landing spot because if they land with the Jets, they are Sam Darnold's number one receiver, and they're going to get targets. I think they're going to get fed.
Targets matter.
And with the Raiders, the thing that worries me is the weapons they actually have. I mean, Gruden loves to run the ball, but where is everything? Like, where's
Waller
this
had
pie?
90 receptions.
Yeah, and you got Renfro, who they love. You got Tyrell Williams and Nelson Aguilar, who's probably going to get 50 targets and catch 6 of them. So yeah, I think the Raiders are probably my least favorite. San Francisco, whoever lands with San Fran is going to probably be the number one receiver. I mean, Shanahan offense. Shanahan loves to feed number one receivers. I think Debo would take a hit. And if they land CeeDee Lamb or Jeudy, even Ruggs, I think I would probably put them at the number one receiver just because that's my favorite landing spot. And yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb is fantastic at contested catches. We talked last week with the red shirts that his body control in the air is insane. Like the way he can twist his hips in the air and turn towards the ball and shield the defender, like everything that's going
why
on
a lot
in
of people,
one play.
He gets a lot of Hopkins comparisons because of that. Yeah.
And he's smooth. He's very good after the catch. I know I bashed him for the Big 12 tackling on a couple plays when everybody's like, oh, look at this. There's 8 defenders. Well, I mean, when they're trying to reach for shoulder pads, that's not great tackling.
No.
So, I mean, he's a very good receiver. He is the 1B to Judy's 1A, and this all can change. I mean, Jeudy and Lamb probably had the safest floor in this draft, but the next receiver has the highest upside.
Interesting. I think it would be very interesting if Lamb, like everyone thinks that because the Arizona Cardinals went out and traded for DeAndre Hopkins, that they're off the receiver. It'd be really interesting if they took him 8th overall still. Larry's in his last year. Like that could be really interesting. Now, obviously you wouldn't get much from him in year 1, but like opportunity knocks in year 2. And, you know, if that could make his draft stock slip in these dynasty drafts, I would be all for that. You know, because people are going to be like, oh, well, I can't use him in year 1 and sour on him, and then he'll slip a little bit.
There's gonna be so many of those wide receivers, right? Like there's like 5-6-ish that we're thinking will have a first round draft pedigree. But
Probably,
then you look at all the teams that they could possibly land on, and there's going to be some that are just going to be buried. I mean, you even talked about San Francisco as a good spot. You're competing with catches with Kittle and Debo. In an offense that obviously utilizes
running backs catch. Yeah, I was gonna say the running backs catch a lot of passes.
You know, that's just a lot of targets to go around, or not a lot of targets to go around. So I don't know. There's going to be people that sour on some of those spots, but I think we found out with like AJ Brown is that you just have to be patient. You just have to
trust the talent.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Trust the talent. It'll eventually shine through in most cases, at least. So the number 3 receiver on the board here at DHH is Justin Jefferson out of LSU, one of the real big winners from the combine, obviously part of that prolific LSU offense, the best the college football game has ever seen. So I want to go to Robbie on this one. I know Tyler said that, you know, he thinks he has the highest potential.
Nope, wrong receiver.
Am I wrong?
No, that's not the highest upside receiver to me.
Oh, well, you said the next one.
Yeah, I figured the ratings would be different, but
I think you just fudged that up.
I mean, the next safest is right for Jefferson.
All right, Tyler, stop talking. So, Robbie, talk to me about Justin Jefferson.
Man, you want to talk about a guy that has just improved his stock so much since we first started talking about these rookies. How many years have we been talking about 2020 rookie class now?
I don't know,
Justin Jefferson.
Like 10.
Yeah, he went from an unknown to now he's a top 3 wide receiver when you look at a lot of people's rankings. I unfortunately won't get any Justin Jefferson shares because I'm just not on the same spot with everybody else, having him in that top 3. So I think I'm going to lose out. But yeah, you couldn't find a guy that just had a better year last year. I mean, obviously elite numbers. Even before 2019's elite season with Joe Burrow, he still had a good 2018. He had 54 receptions, 875 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that was with
crappy quarterback play.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had a good breakout year the year before. So I like that breakout age. He's got really good body control, extension, catch radius. He just plays with some moxie that you like. You will like having Justin Jefferson on your NFL team and on your dynasty rosters. So he's definitely a guy that obviously after the combine blew up, and he's risen up to a point now I think I won't be able to get any shares of him.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of mock drafts with him going to Green Bay at the very end of the first. I don't think he lasts that long. I think a team like Philadelphia would be a really good fit.
Absolutely.
Tyler's nodding. Anything to add on Justin Jefferson, Tyler, before I go
No,
to you on the
same.
next one?
His route running is very good. A lot of people have him comped to Robert Woods, and I see that a lot. Like
Good one.
It's not a bad thing.
That's good.
Robert Woods has that swagger to him that, like, if you get the ball in my hands, I'm gonna take it 10 plus yards, and that's what Jefferson has. You see a lot of deep balls to him. Yeah, he's really good at contested catches. I think he was 12 out of 13 is what I heard, and I mean. Yeah, you watch him after the catch; it's fantastic, and he's got that body style that fits the NFL.
Does he
Absolutely.
have the that oomph, Tyler?
Oh.
He has some oomph,
There
but
it
there's
is.
another receiver that has more oomph than anybody in this.
Let's
class.
hear about him. Let's hear about him.
Yeah, it's the fourth receiver on the board here at DHH in the rankings is the one and only Henry Ruggs, the fastest man at the combine, 5'11", 188 pounds. Obviously the ceiling could be literally through the roof, but to me, it's like you always look at that stat of like, oh, here's a list of the 10 fastest receivers at the combine, and I go, woof. Is Henry Ruggs?
Tyreek Hill wasn't allowed to be at the combine, by the way.
Yes. Is Henry Ruggs going to be the guy that breaks that mold, and is he going to be the guy that stands out and be like, oh wow, he's had a pretty good NFL career?
I think so. I mean, you watch his tape, I think he's more than just a speed receiver. You look at half of the people you see as the fastest receiver, and they're not complete. I mean, they were drafted to be speed receivers. I think Will Fuller is more of a complete receiver than what people give him credit for. It's just he can't stay healthy. I mean, you watch Will Fuller play, and yeah, he catches more than just deep balls. They give him screens, they give him slants. Will Fuller is a complete receiver. He just can't stay healthy. He doesn't have a hamstring. He's hamstrung because he has no hamstring. Receiver. So, wow. Okay. I'm wrong. He's not complete.
He's missing body parts, Tyler.
Ruggs is a different player. I listened to Matt Miller, Stick to Football, and he talks about how Ruggs can't live without football. Like, he's one of those guys. He loves the game. He lives for it. So he's a guy that I think is going to get better and better. He's going to learn more of the route tree. And I do think he has major upside. I mean, he could be the best receiver in the class, or he could be a 700-yard receiver and 6 touchdowns a year type guy, which is meh. But I mean, I'm swinging for the fences. I like him as my wide receiver 3. And if he lands with San Fran, or if he lands with the Jets, he's going to actually rise for me.
Well, Philly. New Deshaun Jackson.
Oh my God! If he lands with Phil, well, Deshaun Jackson's still there. I think people forget about that.
He is.
Kick him out. Once you draft Ruggs,
he's probably making big money, so he would probably be a cut candidate if they were to.
They need to trade up to get Ruggs, and I wouldn't put it past Howie. But apparently, everybody's in love with CeeDee Lamb. So if any team trades up, if you see Denver trade up, if you see any of those guys trade up, it's probably going to be for Lamb. So Ruggs will probably end up as a Raider, and with Mariota and Carr, that'd be gross.
I would love for Detroit to trade down and get Lamb, so then we could have Lamb on the Lions.
Nice.
And have a Galladay.
Matt Patricia's like, the only reason we traded for him because we want Lions and Lambs.
No, he's going to trade with the Patriots, and they're going to take Tua.
That's God, probably not going to happen.
Belichick's going to wave his hand like a Jedi and be like, these aren't the picks you're looking for.
You'll trade me all your picks, and I'll give you the ghost of Willie
Sony Michel.
Yeah, here's Sony Michel. Give me Kerryon Johnson. Yeah, that'll be fun. So next up on the rankings, coming in at number 5, is Mr. Jalen Reagor from TCU, 5'11", 206 pounds. a little disappointing at the combine. You know, he didn't run as fast as people thought he would, but then he had his
virtual pro
day, and he was blazing. The old dude with the stopwatch was like 4.22 or whatever it was. And I was like, okay. Anywho, let's add maybe a half a second to that. But, you know, Reagor, I think, is one of the guys that like was getting a lot of hype. He was a Twitter darling for like that window of like everyone was slurping on Jalen Reagor. And then all of a sudden, like the combine happened and people kind of went back into their holes. I think he's a really good player. So Robbie, tell me a little bit about Reagor and where do you have him? We have him here at 105. Where's he on your rankings?
Yeah, I think this will be the player that I am able to acquire some shares of. I think Reagor is a top 3 wide receiver in this class for me. When we say he underperformed in his 40 time, I mean, he was still blazing fast.
He's still fast, yeah.
It's incredible, right? So I think the expectation might unfairly damper some of that love for his speed. And you know what's crazy about Reagor is that he has that speed, but TCU set up jump balls for them. He's 5'11", and they were designing jump balls because his vertical and his ball tracking is just that good. He's really great over the shoulder catching the ball. He's really good with using his deceptive, head and shoulder leans and then hitting an oppo step to get open. So I think he's got good deception to get open. He played on obviously a horrible offense, so the numbers aren't there. You know, he quote unquote underwhelmed his 40 times. So I just think a lot of people are sleeping on him, and he's going to be a later first round guy. Obviously all this is landing spot dependent, but I think this guy is just going to be one of the big grabs in the draft that you get in the late first. And he ends up being really good for your team for a long time.
Yeah, I think he's the first receiver on this list that'll probably be a second rounder in the NFL draft. And I think the second round is going to be absolutely littered with a ton of these names. You know, we're probably going to have at least 5, possibly 6 going in the first round. And I think the second round is just going to be like a lot. You might see like 7 to 8, maybe up to 10 guys go in the second round. It would not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, and running backs are going to be littered within the second round too. Just
it could push some into the third round. So
yeah,
which would be kind of bonkers to me. But hey, you know, I remember someone tweeted out this week that they said executives have looked at the mock drafts and they're like just kind of laughing internally because it's like there's going to be some weird stuff that happens that no one's going to expect. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait for that. That's part of the intrigue of the draft for me is like when a team drafts a guy and you're like, okay, like, wow, that surprised me. Like that went nothing like the way everyone thought it was going to go. Those are the highlights of the draft for me is when moments like that happen. So I'm looking forward to that. Tyler, any thoughts on Jalen Reagor before we move on to our next receiver?
No, he's a good receiver. Very team dependent. He reminds me a lot of what Paris Campbell was last year. He landed with the Colts. Good situation. Hopefully he stays healthy, unlike Paris Campbell, and can produce in year 1.
Gotcha. So next up on the list is T. Higgins, who a lot of people have soured on. Again, people say, oh, like, you know, he had a bad combine or whatever because he didn't do anything. And then his pro day ran like a 4.5, but speed really isn't his game. But, you know, if you watch some of his tape, like he didn't really have too many problems separating against Alabama. You know, he's 6'4", 216. You know, the comp I keep hearing, I haven't been listening to as many podcasts because I'm trying to keep like a clear line of sight and make my own decisions. But the common thread I keep hearing is another Clemson receiver, and a lot of people comping him to Mike Williams. So Tyler, do you see some Mike Williams in his game, or do you think he's more like maybe another player that you would comp him to?
I thought Mike Williams was stronger at the catch point. I think T. Higgins probably plays with a little more speed.
Okay.
And I think with Higgins, it's more that long stride speed. And same
like
with
Malcolm
Williams.
Floyd.
Yeah. Probably better than Malcolm Floyd. I mean,
Malcolm Floyd had some solid seasons.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of a poor man's Mike Evans. T. Higgins. I really like T. Higgins.
Okay.
I think people have soured on him for the wrong reasons. A 4.59 for a guy that size is not bad.
Right.
It's not bad at all.
216.
I mean, if CD Lamb ran a 4.59, people would be happy.
I'm 6'4", 220, and I couldn't run a 4.59 if you paid me.
Yeah, and the funny thing is people were hoping CD Lamb ran under 4.6. And since he ran a 4.51 or 4.50, they're happy. But T. Higgins runs a 4.59, and they're like, oh, gross. I'm like, wait a minute.
People forget, like, Antonio Brown and Hopkins, like, ran 4.5s and 4.6s. Like,
right.
Yeah. Allen Robinson is a good comp for him. And Allen Robinson is probably more nuanced in route running.
Sure.
But Higgins was a 5-star recruit. I mean, he was a stud coming in, and you got to remember those type of players. I think we constantly just kind of look at what they did in college and brush it off. I mean, look at Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is another 5-star recruit stud. Couldn't stay healthy in Maryland, and I mean, blows up in the NFL. T. Higgins is another guy I think is going to be a better NFL receiver than he was in college. But yeah, I mean, I love his game. I actually think he fits in today's NFL, and I will probably end up with a lot of T. Higgins.
Yeah,
especially if he ends up being a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah, he'd fit very well. I honestly hope they don't, because I want Irv Smith to get more involved. But
I think he'll be involved regardless.
That's true.
So
Rudolph is getting up there in age.
Time to put Rudolph out the pasture and have Irv Smith pull that sleigh. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. We need a new red zone reindeer, and it's Irv Smith.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying about that. So let's move on to our next receiver. We've got Laviska Shenault. Again, a player who we've seen his stock drop a little bit after the combine. He had some weird pubic injury. Medical reports this week came out that his doctors cleared him, said that he's going to be perfectly fine. I actually like Laviska Shenault quite a bit. I think that
you get your pubic checked on like a Zoom chat, because you can't go to a doctor. So
I mean, you can go to a doctor.
Teledoc.
Do you do it on a Zoom? Like, hey doc, check this out.
Yep.
Check out my pubes.
Oh shoot, I made it public.
Oops, I made it pubic.
Make it private.
I made it pubic. Oh boy. So Laviska Shenault, I like a lot. A lot of people compare his game to kind of a Deebo Samuel. You can move him all around. He's good in the short game. Route running. He needs some work running routes, but he's strong. He can break tackles. I like Shenault a lot, and I actually kind of like the fact that he didn't test well, because it's really kind of bumped his stock down a little bit.
He's made of porcelain, very light porcelain.
It's clay. He's made of clay. So Robbie,
that's actually a positive for him. So
that's true. Robbie, are you a Shenault guy, or are you kind of like, he's the injuries and stuff like that concerns you?
No, I mean, the injuries are obviously something to note. I mean, whenever you talk about spending an early pick, whether it's your late first or early second, where Shenault's kind of currently going, I think you got to look at, upside and downside, and risk obviously goes into that. But, Shenault, I think you said it really well with Deebo, is that he's just a really versatile athlete, right? Like, he can play inside, outside. He can run the ball. He just has really good acceleration. He's not elite speed, but he's quick. And just his yak ability is just amazing. Like, in the open field, you're not going to be able to tackle him. He can stop on a dime, change direction. Yeah, and he was cleared 100% healthy, they say, by the end of April. So, I mean, obviously he's had his injury history, but he's a guy that I think at the early second round, I think you want to definitely look at this guy for higher upside players when you look at where he's going.
Yeah, and I think in like a super flex league, you can see him last maybe till like the middle to end of the second round, and I would love that. Like, that would be perfect.
Oh, that would be amazing. If he goes past like 204. 205. Yeah,
and I think in a super flex that could definitely happen. So
yep.
I'm all about that life if I can be. So coming in at number 8 on the receiver rankings, when was the last time
you're not going to ask me nothing about Shenault?
No, you're good. So coming in at number 8 is Denzel Mims. So I don't know when the last time these rankings were done, but this seems a little low on Mims. So Tyler, explain to me. I think Denzel Mims is going to be a first round wide receiver coming up on Thursday.
Probably, and I would probably put my bet on Green Bay being a good landing spot. And I feel like I'm going to be out with how high he has risen. I know Easter's it was just passed, and so we'll bring that up. But no, Mims is a guy that I think is going to be way too early for me. If I could get him in the early second, I would be all for that. But I think he's going to probably be slotted in at like the 110, 111. Mm-hmm. And I'm not feeling that range. I mean, in a 2 quarterback league, maybe he hits 204-ish, but still that seems a bit rich for me. If he lands on Minnesota, that would be a good landing spot. Green Bay would be another good landing spot, but I don't know. I just feel like from the tape I have watched, he is very stiff. He doesn't have quick cuts. He's go get it type guy. Just throw the ball up to him, go get it. I just don't know. I have a weird gut feeling about him. He's probably a guy I'm going to probably be wrong on, and he's probably just going to be a stud. But yeah,
hey, everyone loved Josh Doxson once too.
Yeah, for me, it's probably just going to be an avoid. Like the last receiver you didn't let me talk about, Laviska Shenault, who is, I swear, little Jordan Humphreys and Shenault are the same person.
Little Jordan Humphrey. He's got the best rap real life name from the Saints. Robbie, do you share the sentiment with Tyler on Mims, or are you more of a fan?
Well, I think it's really interesting, right? Like this draft has Mims, Justin Jefferson, Higgins, and they're all just, I guess Justin Jefferson isn't quite as lanky as some of these other guys, but they're just really big wide receivers that still have some good speed, and they can just catch anything in their area code. I'll agree with Tyler. Like he's not the most refined route runner. He's lanky, but I do think when I watch the tape, he burns some corners. I mean, he can, when he was pressed, he was strong enough to shut the press and then just get behind those guys. And he did it pretty consistently where, I marked it down. So, I mean, I'm going to, give him credit for that. And, he's going to be a guy that also rises and has risen obviously a ton from the combine performance. So, man, it's just tough when you just look at all these guys and they all do a lot of things really well. And I think it all comes down to that landing spot and how do they slot in with what else is around them? Who's their quarterback? What scheme are they in? So, is Mims going to be in a better scheme than Higgins, or is Jefferson going to have a better quarterback than Mims? Because I think all three of those guys' talents are really, really close, and I can see myself changing my rankings based on where they are located.
He's got a new name. He's no longer Denzel Mims. He's Jesus Mims. He's risen.
He is risen.
So let's go. Our next player in the rankings is Bryan Edwards from South Carolina. I think one of the more intriguing players in this draft. I think everyone likes the player himself, but no one really knows what the draft capital is going to look like. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, where's he going to get drafted? So Robbie, ultimately, what round do you think Bryan Edwards goes in?
Gosh, isn't this the question of the night? I mean, some days when I watch Brian Higgins tape, I feel like, yeah, he should go in the second. And then I watch some other games and I'm like, man, I think he's a day 3 player. So I think he was just a little bit inconsistent for me. He has a little bit of an injury history, a lot of it actually. And then it's tough when you have such terrible QB play to judge these guys properly. I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, Cody Kutzer is kind of the champion for Bryan Edwards right now. I'm over at, oh gosh, I'm blanking on where he's even at right now.
The Fantasy Authority.
Yeah, exactly. So, he'll pound the table for Bryan Edwards, and I'm just not quite there yet. I think he definitely has a lot of variability.
Tyler, any thoughts on Edwards?
Yeah, I mean, his breakout age, you look all over the place. People will tell you his breakout age is like 9 years old. So
he broke out in the backyard early.
Very early for South Carolina.
Catching that Whistler Nerf ball.
He has a very Kelvin Harmon-esque type feel to me, where people are going to be super hyped. And, well, let's give him credit. He was a 6th round pick.
Yep.
Close enough.
But yeah, I feel like Bryan Edwards is going to be a 4th or 5th round pick to a team people aren't going to be too happy about. But I mean, look at Kelvin Harmon. If Washington avoids receiver, Kelvin Harmon is a guy that's
starting wide receiver.
Yeah, he's going to probably be a starting receiver next to Terry McLaurin. And McLaurin. But yeah, I mean, Bryan Edwards, super talented. He's a big receiver. If this was, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, he would fit in the NFL. But the way the NFL is going with route running, nuance, and speed, he's just not there. You know what I mean? Like he feels like he's a super athletic in the ball type guy. So I think he's gonna be in like a 3rd round pick in rookie drafts with his draft, with where he's gonna end up in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think you're probably accurate on that. So rounding out the top 10 here, and then we'll take a little bit more of a speed round as we finish up some of these other guys. But it's Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, 6 foot, 205. One really productive season. He was a transfer. One productive season last year. After N'Keal Harry left town. Tyler, affectionately dubbed him Brandon Ayuk
Okay,
last podcast.
I went back.
So
I went
explain
back
yourself.
I went back and rewatched, and I'm starting to like him. I don't know if I just watched the wrong games and was like, oh, okay, he's average, but he's not. He is a very good receiver with the ball in his hands. He is faster than the 4.5 speed that they showed.
Yeah, his game tape, he looks much faster.
Yes, and there is a chance he could be better than N'Keal Harry. I mean, I love N'Keal Harry.
Shut your
out,
mouth.
But man, I'm talking about these receivers in today's NFL and how they play. Ayuk is a guy who fits today's NFL. I mean, he is a guy that could play all over the field. He can return. I think he's going to land on a few of my teams after rewatching the tape.
I've seen him mocked to Green Bay a lot in that first round, and I just think that's just wild. I think if he goes in the first
mocks,
round,
he was in a lot of first round mocks. I saw him to the Eagles in a couple, like early on.
Way
I
too
was
early.
like, okay,
he could play that Randall Cobb role that they have been missing for years.
That's true. I think Randall Cobb is still missing too, by the way. So let's for these next this next group of 10 or so. We won't go back and forth. I'll just throw it to one of you guys, and then we'll move on. How's that sound? Cool.
Yep.
All right. I see nodding heads. Robbie agrees. Let's do this.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go to Tyler first on this one because I know he's a big fan of Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan. 6'2", 212. Not a lot of college production. We all know the quarterback situation there was less than good. So, Tyler, sell me on Donovan Peoples-Jones being just outside the top 10 in DHH ranks.
Yeah, I have him very high in my rankings, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have not touched my rankings in a while because I have avoided moving in the offseason. That's been a big thing I've been trying to focus on and just sticking with my early tape and focusing on that.
So your rankings have been staying home is what you're saying?
Yes, I have been #stay home on my ranks. No, Donovan Peoples-Jones, man, his vert is insane. 4.3 plus. God, he's still, he has still yet to fall. That's how much of a vert that was. I think being the number one wide receiver recruit in the class helped. He had Shea Butter Patterson as his quarterback, which is not
so
good.
Soft, so smooth.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, Patterson did him no justice. I mean, you watch Shea. Like the hardest part about watching Donovan Peoples-Jones tape is watching Shea Patterson. Like you don't want to do it. You're sitting there like, oh, I'll just watch his punt returns, and I'll just watch that instead of actually watching the tape. But no, he is going to be a way better pro. I think he would be a perfect Colt. He is what they need. Allen Robinson is my comp for him if I'm going to give him a comp, because Allen Robinson had the same build. Just he can do everything very good. And I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be a better NFL player than college. That's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. Don't sleep on Donovan Peoples-Jones.
DPJ. Donovan Peoples-Jones just sounds like an NBA player that comes off the bench. That's all I'm gonna say.
Like just the sixth man of the year.
Now checking in, Donovan Peoples-Jones. You're like, okay. Anywho. So next up on the list.
World Peace.
Meta World Peace. Next up on the list is KJ Hamler kid out of Penn State, 5'9", only a $178, but an absolute blazer. I think he's going to go higher in the actual NFL draft than some people do. So Robbie, are you in on Hamler? I know a lot of people are concerned with, his drop rate was astronomically high. But the speed, man, the speed.
Right. Yeah. I think if you're a fan of Ruggs and what upside Ruggs has, you can get a Ruggs light version in the mid third round with Hamler. This guy's just twitchy, extremely fast. I think just he might not have that dog mentality that Ruggs has, and I think that's my biggest knock on him is he doesn't attack the football at times. I saw him the football hit him in the face mask in a game against Michigan just because he was kind of being patient with it, too patient. But yeah, he just runs like a loose cannon. His top speed is really good. He could be somebody that in the right offense can be a really good steal in that third round. So yeah, I think the ceiling's the limit with him, but also when you talk about wide receivers that are that light, there's obviously a lot of risk with them as well. So that is a risk reward pick there.
Absolutely.
Love
so moving on. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you like the speed guys. Tyler's a speed guy. Tyler likes to do speed. I mean, he likes speed. So the next player on the list, I would have this player ranked a few spots higher, actually. I really, really like Michael Pittman. I know he didn't have a great junior season. His senior season was much better. 6'4", 223. I think that the NFL is going to love Michael Pittman. And it's going to be, the landing spot for him is going to be big when it comes to rookie drafts. But man, I think Michael Pittman will be a 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft. And I think that means a lot. I think people, like his route running, strong hands. He's got the lineage being from an NFL family, which means a lot to NFL owners. So I could see him being a 2nd-round pick. So Tyler, what do you think about Pitbull Pittman Jr.?
Yeah, like you said, I think he's gonna be a 2nd-round pick in the NFL. I think he'll end up being a 2nd-round pick in rookie drafts, like in the later version, maybe mid. But yeah, he's a good receiver. He played very well with Sam Darnold, and then he kind of had a falling out year, I would say. And then this year he showed up, played very well in college, and I think he's the type that if you miss out on T. Higgins and you're a T. Higgins fan, he's a great runner-up prize to have in rookie drafts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. The next guy on the list, very polarizing to me because not a lot of people were talking about this kid until he kind of came to the combine and was like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm huge. I'm fast. I'm testing athletically out of the gym. And it's Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. So Tyler, whatever. 6'4", 238.
He's a tight end. Why are we not talking?
Is he Darren Waller 2.0? Like, Robbie, what's up with Chase Claypool? To me, he's the type of player that, like, if he stays at the wide receiver position, I could just see him struggle.
I am so honored you gave me the Notre Dame player. I was for sure this was going to Tyler.
I looked at it all the way through in the beginning just to make sure to not give him the Notre Dame player.
Perfect. Yeah, man. Does it matter? Like, I feel like you can utilize somebody this size the same way they do with Evan Ingram, the same way, obviously to a little bit lesser extent of Jimmy Graham, but he played at a really high level. And let me backtrack a little bit. So watching him, I was watching Cole Kmet, and I just keep on seeing this guy, and I'm like, that's a smaller tight end, but that's definitely a tight end. Why are they lining him up in the on the outside all the time? And just watching him more and more, I had to look up who this Chase Claypool guy was, and he just kept on making big plays when trying to watch Cole Kmet. So he actually jumped on my radar pretty early in the process of watching this tape. And I don't know. I think you can utilize him. I don't really care if he's big for a wide receiver or small for a tight end. He makes plays. He does a lot of 50-50 balls. So I'm in on Chase Claypool. I'm sad that he had such a good combine because that's obviously blowing up his stock. But if you're getting him here where we have him, I'm in.
Okay. So next up on the list from Small School Liberty, 6'4", 223, Antonio Gandy Golden, another player off the bench in the NBA. Antonio Gandy Golden now checking in. Tyler, give me a little bit about AGG because we like to, abbreviate everything.
He's a big small school receiver that if you're taking him any earlier than the mid-third or late third, you're reaching. I mean, he is a project. He's a guy that I wouldn't probably have faith in for 2 to 3 years. But yeah, I probably won't end up with any of him. From what I saw from the Senior Bowl tape and a little of the tape that I watched, I mean, he dominated at Liberty, but which you should.
It's Liberty.
If you're, I mean, it's liberty and justice.
For all.
Thank you. But no, he's going to, I saw a poll earlier, Arcega-Whiteside or him. And I mean, it's Arcega-Whiteside easily still.
Come on.
And or who has a longer last name or what?
No, just like who would you rather have in fantasy? And I mean, that's how far Arcega-Whiteside has fallen.
Wow, can I get J-Jaw for a 4th, you think?
Yeah, I mean, J-Jaw is a way better receiver, and he did it at Stanford and not Liberty. So, I mean, Yeah, there's a lot more people that are higher on this guy. So
you're not taking a Gandy at Antonio Golden.
nope.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on. We've got a couple more here, and then we'll hit a speed round at the end. So the next one up in the rankings is KJ Hill from the Ohio State University, 6 foot, $196. I don't know much about KJ Hill, so Robbie, fill me in on this man.
Oh, I am the wrong person to fill you in. I was going to say we can skip him and give more time to some
good.
of these other guys.
Tyler's going to go to KJ Hill. Look at that.
Yeah, I think I actually like him. I think he could be a very good slot receiver in the NFL. He's a little guy, very jittery. He screams Patriots to me. Like that is the typical Patriot receiver.
Is he white though?
No, but he's a slot guy that doesn't have great speed. So Patriots.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
he's
that
like
works.
he's like a 4.6 speed guy.
I was actually
I think
thinking the next player on this list is a Patriot type of player, but that's okay.
He is faster than I think the combine showed. I mean, we all saw what the combine did. I think all these receivers are probably faster than what they are. The combine. Oh, you got to wait till 11 p.m. to go run your 40. Is that all right? So I think a lot of these receivers and running backs are faster than what they say. So yeah, KJ Hill, I think he's just going to be a very productive NFL player. Think of a Hunter Renfrow type, a guy that is just going to catch the ball and just be there when the quarterback needs it.
Because it's his job.
It's his job.
It's his job. All right, so coming in last in the rankings here for the top, I think that's the top 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, it's like the top 17. Is Lynn Bowden, 5'11", 204. I really like Lynn Bowden a lot. Now, when you talk about like Patriots players, this kid, you can use him to throw the football, run the football, catch the football, like use him all over the place. You talked about jittery, electric, small, like that's Lynn Bowden. Like
Taysom Hill has his picture in his locker.
Yeah, I like Lynn Bowden a lot. He could be a really, really fun player. Might be frustrating for fantasy, but man, if he gets an opportunity somewhere to get the ball in his hands and get on the field, like
3 touchdowns a game, 1 passing, 1 rushing, 1 receiving each game. That's probably his floor.
David Patton did that in a game once. Fun fact. I believe it was David Patton. I think it was.
David Boston.
His arms just blew up and blew off his body. Fun fact, I used to have a white Arizona Cardinals David Boston jersey. I was a big David Boston.
Did your arms fit in it, or was it just?
I was fat at the time, so my arms
wasn't.
It was actually game worn jersey.
It was all stretched out in the arms. It looked really weird, looked like a sleeve of wizard. But anyway, so best of the rest. I'm going to give you guys some names, and then feel free to jump in at the end. I know one of these is a Robbie guy because we had some conversations about him before when it came to Devy auction last year. So I'm going to give you some names, and then we'll circle back. So first up is Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota. Then we got Devin Duvernay out of Texas. Van Jefferson, son of former wide receiver Sean Jefferson out of Florida. Isaiah Hodgins from Oregon State. Quintez Cephas, which sounds like a character from Tiger King from Wisconsin. And then we went to the big cat owner, Quintez Cephas. We've got Colin Johnson out of Texas, and then Gabriel Davis out of University of Central Florida. So let's go to Robbie first. Touch on any of these guys, and then we'll have Tyler take it home.
Yeah, I think this ranking might be a little bit outdated because Tyler Johnson, I think most other spots is a lot higher on some other sites, but he's a guy when you watch his tape that you think he should just be up there with the rest of these guys that we've been talking about. He just does a lot of stuff really well, mainly a slot wide receiver, great route runner, knows how to get open, does it at a high level, did it against Auburn, like just so many spectacular catches. So if you want a fun tape to watch him against Auburn. But yeah, he's probably my favorite out of this group, but there is some off the field stuff that is not quite surfaced yet. So we'll see what happens in the draft and see where he goes. I think he's got a lot of variability on where he goes in the draft. But the only other guy out of this, or the only 2 guys out of this list I'd like to also touch on is Isaiah Hodgins and Colin Johnson. Both of them are taller guys. But I think, especially when you're looking at Isaiah Hodgins, he's still got some speed and really, really deceptive double moves. So those are 2 guys I like really late. And I'm targeting in a lot of my drafts.
Tyler, wrap us up.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson, I think, is the guy that's going to end up in the 5th or 6th round.
Because his name's Tyler and he went to Minnesota. Cool. Great analysis.
No, actually, it's funny because I'm not that big of a fan. People are way higher than I am. I mean, Rashad Bateman, jumps off the damn page when you watch film. But Tyler Johnson is just he's more of a technician. And once again, I'm going to go back to the Kelvin Harmon type range where Kelvin Harmon, was more of a technician than he was.
Yeah, but you said in today's NFL, it's about route running, right? Like,
I mean, as a technician, he doesn't like the route running. He needs to be smart about it, not use athleticism to beat the defender. That's the issue.
Use his brain instead of his feet.
Yes. And a player I really want to touch on is Devin Duvernay, who's going to be a guy that's going to go earlier than people expect in the NFL draft. He is going to probably be a 3rd or 4th rounder in the NFL. And I think he's going to be a late riser. And I would be perfectly fine with taking him in the 3rd round in rookie drafts because, he played in Texas. He's fast. He's a good route runner. He's pretty much a Patriot.
I was going to say Van Jefferson is a player that I think is going to get drafted higher than people think in the NFL draft.
Well, he's like 28 years old and he's injured. So that's the issue.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think he's going to get drafted higher than some people might expect.
Doug,
that's what my sources tell me.
Doug, I'm a little sad about our Colin Johnson shares in Pigs 2. They have not aged well.
That's the tricky thing about Devy drafts, man. That's why I didn't win anybody this year because I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just not good at this.
I've been trying to get Max Borghi in Pigs 3, but I've had no luck.
Max Borghi, is that a Star Trek character? Max Borghi?
No, he's the next Christian McCaffrey, Washington State.
Or is that like the Swedish chef's cousin, Max Borghi?
Can we get him on the show next week? That would be great.
The Swedish chef or Max Borghi? Or both?
No, Swedish chef. Hey, what do you think about this?
That would be great. I could only do that for so long. It takes a lot of energy. I would probably peter
out. Are we
after
having on next week, by the way? Why don't you tell the people? You don't remember. We're having Arif Hassan.
Yeah, Arif Hassan. That's right.
The Athletic. He's a friend of mine. I've podcasted with him before. Awesome dude. Very intelligent with all sides of the football.
all four panels of the football, the stitching, like
especially
everything.
The laces.
The laces are always out.
Defense and offense. So we're gonna. And he does play fantasy. I talked to him a little bit about fantasy when I went up to training camp with him about 3 years ago. So that's going to be fun because it's going to be a different perspective. A lot of people are looking for fantasy advice, but we're going to kind of
the draft will be in the books at that point. So it's going to be a hot episode off the presses.
Doug and I will be around into UDPL because it starts Saturday at 9 p.m.
It does.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man,
rookie draft UDPL always starts Saturday at 9 p.m.
Well, I don't have a first round pick because I'm an idiot and I traded it for Cam Newton. Oh my god. Anyway.
What team is he on?
None.
I know.
None. He's on.
I'm just rubbing the salt in the wound.
Yeah. I traded the 2020 first and Juju for Cam and some other stuff. It was terrible, but I won the title. Hey, with Kyle Allen at quarterback.
That's what counts, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, tears. My tears count, but I'm not really. That team is still competing. I'm not really worried about it. I've got the 210 and then a couple thirds and a couple fourths. So whatever. I'll probably be drafting Devin Duvernay for all I know. So yeah, that's going to wrap us up this week. The wide receiver episode is in the books. We have now covered all the fantasy positions except for, reverse cowgirl and stuff like that. But that's another episode.
Tight end. We didn't really hit tight end.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll get it after. We'll
touch it after. We'll touch it after. Don't you worry. Not really much in this tight end class. It's not a great one. There's some solid guys, but whatever. We'll talk about them after the draft is done, I'm sure. Maybe we'll circle back and have a tight end episode now that they hit landing spots. It'll be a little bit easier to do so with that. So that's going to wrap us up this week on the Dynasty Happy Hour. We'll be back next week with Arif Hassan, myself, Tyler, maybe Tim, maybe Robbie. I don't know. We'll figure all that out. Everyone, please, as always, stay safe, stay home, watch the draft, enjoy it, have a beer, order some takeout, support your local economy, and have a great time. I've already told my wife, Thursday, Friday, I don't want to be bothered. I was supposed to be in New York with friends. I'm just going to be down in the man cave, relaxing and watching the draft, probably Zooming with Tyler and a bunch of other people having some fun. during the drafts as we watch hopefully some wild and wackiness unfold. That's what I always look forward to. So until next week, we'll see you next time on the Dynasty Happy Hour.